You're there at dinner or whatever, and you see the tip the dude leaves or she leaves, and it's so low that it is a turnoff. Mm-hmm. Is it a major red flag or a little bit of red flag?
I've been seeing this guy who, in many ways, is wonderful. There's just one issue that's become a bit of a sticking point for me. I'm someone who believes firmly in the importance of tipping well. I've worked service jobs, have friends who do, and understand how much these workers rely on tips to make ends meet. To me, tipping well is not only a show of appreciation for their service, but also a demonstration of empathy, respect, and understanding of the system they work in. Recently, I've noticed that this guy I'm seeing is, let's just say, not the most generous when it comes to leaving tips. I wouldn't go as far as to call him stingy in other aspects, but when it comes to tipping, he seems to fall short of what I consider appropriate. The question I'm having is, can this be changed? Is this something I can bring up and talk to him about? Potentially changing this aspect of him? Or is this a massive red flag signaling deeper issues? I'm not sure if I'm overthinking this or if it's a valid concern. Is it worth trying to address this with him, or should I consider this a deal breaker?
All right. This is going to be an uncomfortable as hell conversation, but I think his reaction to the conversation will be your sign as to whether you stay or go. So if I were playing this out, and I was in your shoes, I'd be like, hey, you're getting to know somebody you're dating. Were you ever a server? Were you ever in the service industry? And if, depending on that answer, we're going to go ahead and say he says no. Be like, yeah, I was a server, and it's so much harder than you realize. I would highly recommend tipping at minimum 20%, and if it's great service, 25%. And then if he gets defensive, and instead of being welcoming of new information and if you explain some of the ins, if he is welcoming of that information and appreciative, that's a good sign. If he gets defensive and feels like you're coming after him, then that's a bad sign.
You ever been a server?
I have not been a server before, no. But I am a generous tipper. But that's because my family, the way that we have been raised is that we have always been told to be generous with what we can give. And so if I'm out to dinner with friends and family, I always try and do 20%, just because it's a respect thing. So I don't think it should be a deal breaker, but I'm in the same boat as you, Kristen, is have a conversation, because it would be a turnoff for me. I'd be like, oh, why are you being so stingy about this? But it does say he is not stingy in other aspects, so definitely try and work on this.
Mel?
I've been a server before, and I think that's what makes me a little biased to this. I mean, bad tipping has always been a huge pet peeve of mine. So it certainly would be a red flag for me, but I would do exactly what Kristen said. I wouldn't have any problems bringing it up and just trying to figure out exactly why you were doing this. And if the person was any kind of defensive or didn't have which I really don't know what a good reason to be a cheap tipper would be, but the reaction would tell me everything I needed to know.
So let me throw one at you. And this is hypothetical. We just don't know what this dude's financial situation is, right? So maybe he has enough money to go out on this date, right? But things are kind of tight. So he's decided to skimp on the tip rather than not go out on the date at all because he's not really financially secure. Would you rather not go out on that date?
Yeah.
I would rather not, yes.
Yeah.
You would rather not go at all and tip 10%.
Yes. I think servers always have that conversation behind the scenes at work of how many times somebody will come and spend $50 or $100 on a meal, but then they don't give you a good tip. It's like you didn't have the money to go out.
It's harsh to say, if you don't have money to tip your server, then you shouldn't go out. You shouldn't go out to a restaurant. You need to get carry out or something.
Right.
As a former server, I'm sure you feel very strongly about that.
Very strongly about that.
Very.
That's part of the that's part of the it's part of the service.
That's
It's part of the meal.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to do carry out and you still should tip your carry out people because they're the ones that are boxing it up for you and putting your condiments into little ramekins. So
Into what?
Into what now?
little ramekins.
Well, what that is?
A ramekin. You have bullets and then you had ramekins. And bullets are the small ones and the ramekins are the bigger ones. It's like what you put your ranch or your honey mustard in.
Oh,
ramekins.
It's like what creme brulee comes in, too.
Oh, okay.
Except smaller.
The little bitty guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, those are bigger, but yeah, it's like...
Okay, ramekin.
Yeah, it's a ramekin.
Okay.
That's what we called him at TGI Fridays. I need a bowl and a buffalo! I need a ramekin of blue cheese.
Never goes away, does it?
It doesn't. Oh, and that Jack sauce, and it was sticky, and I got it everywhere.
I don't know why I'm feeling so bad for that. Like, if this dude didn't have the cash, that he goes out, but he only has enough for a 10% tip, and here you guys are saying, like, then he shouldn't go out at all. I feel bad for this dude.
No, take it to Wendy's. It'll be fine.
Take it to a
Starbucks, yeah, a lot of different places.
cheaper place.
I ain't mad at a Frosty.
I love a Frosty.
The Bert Show.
So, first, thanks for watching. Second, you like what you just watched? That just scratches the surface. Get The Bert Show on any podcast platform. We're so good.